After 37 seasons and over 700 episodes, The Simpsons has introduced thousands of characters, but some of the most memorable ones only appeared once, and their fates are darker than you'd think. Starting with the man who exposed Homer's incompetence. Frank Grimes walked into the Springfield nuclear power plant thinking he'd finally caught a break, after being abandoned at age 4, injured in a silo explosion at 18, and working his way through college while living in a single room above a bowling alley. He'd earned everything he had. Mr. Burns saw him on TV and offered him a job. But when Grimes showed up, Burns had already given the executive position to a heroic dog and stuck him in Sector 7G instead, right next to Homer Simpson, the man who had everything handed to him, despite being completely incompetent. Grimes couldn't handle it. He watched Homer sleep at work, cause near meltdowns, and somehow get praised for it. The injustice ate away at him until he snapped completely during a tour of Homer's house. Seeing that Homer had been to space, met Gerald Ford, and won a Grammy pushed him over the edge.
God, I've had to work hard every day of my life, and what do I have to show for it?
In a desperate attempt to prove Homer was a fraud, Grimes had a complete breakdown at the power plant. He started acting exactly like Homer, mocking his stupidity while pretending to be an idiot. Then he grabbed high-voltage wires without safety gloves and electrocuted himself instantly. At his funeral, everyone ignored the ceremony to laugh at Homer sleeping in the pew. Nobody mourned Frank Grimes, but the story didn't end there. His son, Frank Grimes Jr., later tracked down Homer and tried to end him for revenge. He failed. Grimes's ghost even appeared in Halloween specials. Still bitter about his fate, many fans believe this episode marked a turning point, where Homer became meaner and more selfish. Frank Grimes didn't just pass away. He broke Homer psychologically and changed the entire tone of the show. But there's one character who actually succeeded at everything he set out to do. Hank Scorpio seemed like the perfect boss. When he hired Homer away from Springfield to work at Globex Corporation, he was friendly, supportive, and offered incredible benefits. The family got a massive house in Cypress Creek, and Homer finally felt appreciated at work. There was just one tiny problem. Scorpio was a James Bond-style supervillain with a doomsday device, and Homer never realized it. While Homer happily worked on productivity reports, Scorpio was threatening the United Nations and fighting off secret agents with a flamethrower. He successfully conquered the entire east coast of America, while Homer remained completely oblivious. The episode showed Scorpio casually ending secret agents while having friendly conversations with Homer about hammocks. When the Simpsons had to move back to Springfield because the family was miserable, Scorpio gave Homer a thank you gift: the Denver Broncos. Homer wanted the Dallas Cowboys, but Scorpio casually handed him an entire football team anyway. Despite being one of the most beloved characters in Simpsons history, appearing in consistently ranked top episode lists, Scorpio only showed up in one full episode. He was actually planned to be the villain in the Simpsons movie, but they replaced him with Russ Cargill. The writers were terrified they couldn't recreate the magic, since Albert Brooks improvised most of his dialogue, and they didn't want to ruin what made him special. Scorpio remains one of the only Simpsons villains who won completely and faced zero consequences for his global terrorism. Then there's the episode that doesn't exist anymore. In the Season 3 premiere, Homer wore a pink shirt to work and ended up committed to a mental institution. There he met Leon Kompowski, a large white man who genuinely believed he was Michael Jackson, except the character was actually voiced by the real Michael Jackson.
I can't believe you never heard of me. I'm a very popular entertainer.
Credited as John J. Smith to keep it a secret because of record label contracts, Jackson wrote the song Happy Birthday Lisa for the episode, but didn't sing it because of those same contractual issues with his record label. Kip Lennon performed it instead. Leon helped Bart write the song to make up for forgetting Lisa's birthday, creating one of the most heartwarming moments in early Simpsons history. At the end, Leon revealed he was actually a bricklayer from New Jersey, who just liked pretending to be Michael Jackson because it made people happy. The episode was beloved for nearly 3 decades and considered one of the show's finest moments. But in March 2019, after the Leaving Neverland documentary came out with serious accusations, the decision was made to pull it from existence. Disney removed it from streaming. It disappeared from syndication. Future DVD releases excluded it entirely. James L. Brooks, one of the show's creators, said it was the only choice to make despite him being against censorship in general. The episode that once made millions of people happy was erased because of who voiced it. It represents one of the most controversial decisions in Simpsons history, and Leon Kompowski became a character you're not allowed to watch anymore. The episode is completely inaccessible through legal means. Speaking of characters nobody wanted, let's talk about Roy. He appeared in the same episode as Poochie, and that wasn't a coincidence. Both were designed to mock bad television decisions. Roy was a college-aged kid who suddenly lived with the Simpsons. No explanation, no introduction. He just existed in their house, wearing a backwards hat and sunglasses, calling Homer Mr. S, like they'd known each other for years. He'd occasionally walk through scenes eating cereal or making comments, and everyone acted like this was completely normal. Lisa even commented right before his appearance,
Adding a new character is often a desperate attempt to boost low ratings.
Yo, how's it hanging, everybody?
Roy was created as a mockery of a Fox executive who suggested the show needed a cool teenager in the family to attract younger viewers. The writers had complete creative control and wanted to show exactly how stupid that idea was. At the end of the episode, Roy announced he was moving in with 2 sexy ladies and skateboarded out of the house forever. Nobody questioned it. Nobody mentioned him again. The family never acknowledged he'd ever existed. The joke was that his entire presence made absolutely no sense whatsoever. Roy represented the show's middle finger to network interference and became a symbol of how not to fix a struggling series. His unexplained presence and equally unexplained departure was the entire point, proving that adding random characters destroys what makes shows special. But if you want to talk about one-timers who definitely didn't survive, there's Lyle Lanley. He rolled into Springfield with a smile, a song, and a monorail nobody needed. The town had just received a $3 million windfall from Mr. Burns, and Lanley convinced them to spend it all on a monorail system with a musical number that parodied The Music Man. Phil Hartman voiced him in a performance that became legendary and is still quoted by fans decades later. Problem was, Lanley was a con artist. He'd sold faulty monorails to multiple towns before Springfield, including North Haverbrook and Ogdenville, and they were all left in ruins with people gone from crashes. The episode showed North Haverbrook as a complete ghost town with a crashed monorail and boarded-up buildings. He cut every corner possible, used terrible materials, didn't include proper brakes, and hired Homer as the conductor specifically to guarantee disaster. His notebook had drawings of himself on a beach in Tahiti, surrounded by bags of money. He planned to skip town before the monorail inevitably crashed and took Springfield citizens with it. Springfield barely avoided catastrophe when Marge investigated his previous scams, and Homer used the M from the train as an anchor to stop it from going off the rails. Meanwhile, Lanley's plane to Tahiti made an unscheduled stop in North Haverbrook, one of the towns he'd previously destroyed. An angry mob stormed the aircraft. You could hear him screaming as they dragged him away. He never appeared again, which strongly suggests the mob ended him right there for destroying their town. Phil Hartman's tragic passing in 1998 made any potential return impossible regardless. Lanley remains one of the greatest Simpsons villains despite appearing in only one episode, and his fate was left deliberately ambiguous, but clearly violent. Then there's Poochie, the character who existed purely to fail, added to Itchy and Scratchy in a desperate attempt to boost ratings for the cartoon. Within a cartoon, Poochie was a rapping, skateboarding dog, designed by committee to be cool and extreme. The episode brilliantly satirized focus group television by showing executives and marketing teams creating the worst possible character. Homer won the audition to voice him and was genuinely thrilled. But Poochie's first appearance was universally hated by everyone in Springfield. He stopped the show completely just to rap about himself being a kung fu hippie from Gangsta City and stand around being radical. There was no violence, no humor, just a character announcing how awesome he was while Itchy and Scratchy stood frozen watching him. The studio immediately killed him off in the next episode, after getting flooded with angry letters. His ending scene was hilariously bad. The animation cell literally slid up off the screen while text appeared saying Poochie passed away on the way back to his home planet. Homer tried to give an emotional goodbye speech that he'd written himself, but they dubbed over him with someone else's voice coldly stating that,
"I have to go now. My planet needs me."
The character became a meme for anyone written off a show with zero explanation or respect. He represented everything wrong with focus group television and network notes destroying creative vision. The entire episode was the writer's response to critics who said the show's quality had declined in later seasons. Poochie was proof that listening to everyone's opinions and trying to please focus groups creates absolute garbage that nobody wants. Other one-timers had wild fates too that deserve attention. Mr. Bergstrom, voiced by Dustin Hoffman under the pseudonym Sam Ettick, was Lisa's substitute teacher who became the male role model she desperately needed. He was kind, intelligent, and actually understood her. When he had to leave Springfield, he gave Lisa a note that said, "You are Lisa Simpson," telling her to read it whenever she felt lost. It became one of the most emotional moments in the show's entire run. Hoffman's performance was praised as one of the greatest guest appearances in television history. Sherry Bobbins, the Mary Poppins parody, had an even darker ending. She tried to help the Simpson family become better people through songs and positive reinforcement. She taught them to clean their rooms and work together. But the moment she left, they immediately reverted to their terrible behavior. She came back and tried again, but the family's dysfunction eventually crushed her spirit completely. She became an alcoholic and spiraled into depression. The family convinced her they were happy being dysfunctional and didn't want to change. She accepted defeat and flew away with her umbrella. But as she floated into the sky, distracted by her experience, she drifted into the path of an airplane and got sucked directly into the jet engine. The family never knew what happened to her. Jax, the bowling instructor voiced by Albert Brooks, almost had an affair with Marge after Homer thoughtlessly gave her a bowling ball for her birthday that was drilled for his fingers. Jock was smooth, French accented, and made Marge feel appreciated. She nearly left Homer for him, but chose her family at the last second. Jock disappeared after that, and only made brief background cameos decades later. Carl, Homer's assistant when he briefly had demoxinal hair, was openly caring and selfless. When Homer got caught with a fake expense report, Carl took the blame and got fired to save Homer's job. He gave Homer his umbrella in the rain and walked away, never to return. Guy Incognito, Homer's exact double, showed up outside Moe's Tavern for literally 10 seconds. The patrons immediately thought he was Homer, beat him up, and threw him into the street. He was never seen again. Laura Powers, the babysitter Bart had a massive crush on, moved away after dating his bully Jimbo Jones. She taught Bart about heartbreak, and then vanished from his life completely. These characters made brief but memorable impacts that fans still remember decades later. If you watched until the end, congratulations, because you have more attention span than Homer. So smash that subscribe button to join the Springfield crew. And don't leave yet, there's another video on the screen waiting to pull you right back into this crazy universe.